What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video we're going to be looking at the key differences between the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 and the Samsung Galaxy S6. So the Note 5 was just announced today. How does it compare to Samsung's flagship, the S6? Well, let's find out. So initially looking at the screen sizes, you've got a difference here. The S6 comes in at 5.1 inches, whereas the Note 5 has a 5.7 inch display. So a much larger display, which is going to be a lot more immersive and is going to be better if you do watch a lot of videos and consume a lot of media on your device. The resolution on both devices is the same, QuadHD, so that's 2560 by 1440. Now on the S6, that actually gives you a higher PPI of 577 versus around about 518. So you are going to be getting slightly more sharp detail on the S6. I don't think you're really going to notice this unless you bring the devices up very close. Even then you will probably struggle. Now the larger display with the Note line does come at the expense of a larger device. So you do have a larger device all around. It's a 9.8mm larger in terms of the height, 5.6mm in terms of the width, and it's also 0.8mm thicker, so quite a bit larger overall, and it also weighs 33 grams more compared to the S6. So if you are looking for something a little bit more compact that's going to be easier to use with one hand, then the Note 5 may not be the option for you. Now they have done something to try to make the Note 5 easier to use in one hand. Both of these devices have a metal frame with Gorilla Glass panels on the front and the back, so a premium look and feel. But the Note 5 has a curved back, so you've got curved edges on both sides, and this is supposed to make it a little bit more comfortable to use in one hand because you do have that larger device, and that is definitely nice to see. Now with this premium build, you'll get a premium feel, but you will also get those fingerprints, and they will be a little bit more slippery in the hand than something with a bit more grip. So that's just something to bear in mind. So very similar here in terms of the build, except that the Note 5 does have these curves on the back. Now looking at the internals, both of these are practically the same. You've got the same Exynos processor, which is 64 bits, and it's an octa-core processor, so that is the same here on both of these devices. It's been pretty fast on the S6. One advantage that you are going to be getting on the Note 5 is 4GB of RAM compared to 3GB on the S6. So this should definitely go towards the multitasking and some of the additional features that we'll be talking about a little bit later. Now in terms of the storage options, you've got 32, 64 and 128 gigs on the S6. On the Note 5, you've only got 32 and 64. I'm not sure if they're going to be introducing a 128 gig version later on. I'm not too sure, but at this point in time when you are going to be able to order it, it will come in either the 32 or 64GB variants. Neither of these have expandable storage. Now this is something that Samsung got rid of with the Samsung Galaxy S6. They're carrying this on over onto the Note line as well. I'm sure that's going to be disappointing for a lot of people, but this is something that we are just going to have to expect from Samsung going forward. In terms of the cameras, again, you've got the same cameras, 16 megapixels with an f1.9 aperture. So the S6 has a great camera, and Samsung have not said anything about the camera being any different to the S6, so it is the same sensor and you're going to be getting the same features from it. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing because the S6 has a great camera, but traditionally we see an improvement from the S6 going over to the Note line. This is not the case this year, but then again you will still be getting some great images, no doubt about that. In terms of video, you've got 4K. And one of the things that they have said for the Note 5 is that you've got VDIS, so this is video stabilization based on the software, and that is going to work along with the optical image stabilization to give you much more stable video. So this should be very, very interesting. Whether this update is going to come to the S6, I don't know. This is something that's not been mentioned by Samsung as yet. In terms of the front-facing cameras, you got 5 megapixels on both, and you've also got an f1.9 aperture on both here as well. In terms of the selfies, once again, the S6 does take some great selfies. This will be carried over onto the Note 5. You've got a wide-angle lens. Some people don't like the too wide-angle lens. Personally, myself, if you're towards the side, your face does get stretched. But generally speaking, 5 megapixels is enough to play with. You can always crop in if needed. needed. Now moving on to the operating systems, you've got Android 5.1 Lollipop on both here. The S6 just got it recently. There's a few things that did come with it, which I will talk about a little bit later. And you've got TouchWiz, the TouchWiz skin from Samsung on top, so you're not going to be getting stock Android. Now, TouchWiz has improved a lot since some of the previous years. Still not perfect, but you do get some additional useful features such as multi-window, which will definitely be useful on the Note 5. Now, talking about the additional features, so both of these do have a fingerprint scanner, so this works great on the S6. You simply have to touch once to get in. You don't have to swipe like you had to do in previous years, so that's great. And these both will also have Samsung Pay, so Samsung Pay is being rolled out hopefully from next month, and they've pretty much said that it's going to be supported by most retailers. Pretty much anywhere where you can sort of swipe your card, you're going to be able to swipe your phone as well, so this looks very promising. We'll have to wait and see. They're saying US in September, followed by other countries when we're not too sure as yet. Now the Note 5 does come with the S Pen, so this is something that you've not got on the S6, and it's going to give you some more advanced features as well. So firstly, it's an improved S Pen, and you've got a clicking mechanism, so that should be a little bit more smooth when you want to take it out. And some of the features are really cool. For instance, you don't actually have to unlock the device. You can just make a note straight on your device. If you want to make something in a hurry, you can just go ahead and do that, and that will save the note, so you don't even have to unlock the device. So a very quick and easy way to do that. There's also a feature called scroll capture, so this is on the Note 5, where if you're on a web page, for example, and it's a very long web page, instead of having to take multiple screenshots, you can just take one screenshot, and it's going to take a long screenshot capturing all that information. Once again, very useful. Now, how useful the S Pen is will depend on your usage. Personally, for me, I thought I wouldn't use it on the Note 4, but I did end up using it quite a bit just because of some of these useful features, which are very nice. Moving on to the batteries, the S6 has a 2550 mAh battery, whereas the Note 5 has a 3000 mAh battery, so a slightly larger battery here on the Note 5. Now the S6 hasn't been the best in terms of battery. I'm sure you've heard lots of complaints of it online. Initially I was getting about 4 hours on screen time. Since the Android update, so that's the 5.1 Lollipop update, I'm struggling to get 3 hours of on screen time, so that's very disappointing. Now based on that, it doesn't strike much confidence for the Note device, and neither of these have removable batteries either. That's one thing that the Note devices used to boast, which was a large removable battery, so you could carry around a spare and go for days without having to recharge. This is not the case. Usage we will have to see. Both of these also come with adaptive fast charging, so you're going to be able to top up your devices much quicker. It's supposed to be slightly quicker here on the Note 5 because it is new technology, and both of these also have wireless charging. Now the difference here is that the Note 5 has fast wireless charging as well. So traditionally on the S6, when you're wireless charging, it is at the standard speed, which is somewhere around about half the speed that you'll get on the adaptive fast charger when you're wired. On the Note 5 now you have fast wireless charging, which is great to see. One point to note is that the fast wireless charging is not as fast as wired charging. It is going to be slightly slower. It's going to take roughly about 30% longer to fully charge your device using fast wireless charging rather than wired charging, but it's definitely a step in the right direction, and that is nice to see. Pricing and availability, the S6 is available now. You can go ahead and get it. Off contract, you're looking at roughly about £450 here in the UK, or around about $600 in the US, maybe give or take a little bit here or there depending on where you're going to be getting it from. Now with the Note 5, they've not announced any specific pricing as yet. I'd be expecting roughly about $700 to $750 offline, and for your contract prices you will also be expecting to pay more than the S6 for the Note 5. In terms of availability, this is going to be available from the 21st of August, so that is next week. Now here's the thing, this is only for US and Canada. They've not mentioned any other places, so for me, that's in the UK, that's a real bummer, and it's really disappointing. We've got no confirmation of if or when they're going to be releasing this in the UK or other markets, so that's very disappointing from Samsung. I'm not sure if that's going to change. If you stay in touch with me on Facebook and Twitter, then I will be updating you guys on that. So those were the key differences between the Samsung Galaxy Note 5 and the Samsung Galaxy S6. Essentially, the Note 5 just seems like a larger version of the S6 with an S Pen, generally speaking. That's what it seems like. Yes, there's a few different features here and there, such as the curved back and also the fast wireless charging and things like that, but generally speaking they have kept things very similar. So this is interesting to see. I mean, the S6 has been pretty successful, so maybe they want to repeat that on here. The big disappointment for me is availability, and let's hope that changes. What are your views on the Samsung Galaxy Note 5? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. As soon as these devices are released, even though I'm in the UK, I'm going to be trying to get the Note 5 here in for a hands-on review and comparison. If you do want to see that first, then make sure you have subscribed to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, then please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. You can also see my previous related video here in the annotations somewhere. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time.